sun is shining in the sky, hardly a cloud in sight, and we are going to have a fantastic race here today.
Drivers, start your engine!
Cause we want retribution. Yeah, we want retribution.
But coming to the green here, it's getting cleaned out real well. Pace car's off, kick some ass.
There's the green flag and we're underway.
Green, 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 green. Outside, still there at your door. Good job, man. Nice and solid. Good case up.
Three wide.
Here, Hawkins into the wall.
Oh, big trouble!
Crash in the back. Oh, there's a crash in the back.
Trouble.
Great job, doing awesome, buddy.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time, obviously since November at Pocono Raceway, we are getting ready to go racing in our main event of the night. The main event of the weekend, I should say. It is the Bash at the Zoo here at the Kalamazoo Speedway. It has been an absolutely fantastic, obviously Friday night. Of course, we had our heats and LCQs, and the starting lineup is officially set, and we are officially ready to go. As always, I'm Elijah Leonard here with you to bring you the call for our 200-lapper main event. That was definitely going to set the stage here for the 2026 WRLA NOS Energy Cup Series season. Our heats and LCQs, of course, they were a little anticlimactic, but nonetheless, they still set the starting lineup, irregardless of just exactly how sort of single-file trainee, if you will, basically how those races went. But nonetheless, I don't even know what else to say. I'm just really excited. I'm ready to get this season underway. I'm ready to get this race going from here at the Kalamazoo Speedway. As you see on the front row, it is the number 86 of Rogel Dorn, who wound up getting 2 NOS Energy Cup Series wins to his name. And then alongside is the number 5 of Claire Phillips. You also have Ryan Davis. There's also the 41 of Skylar Taylor. That is your second row. And then as we're going to take a look at the rest of your starting grid right here on your screen, the number 4 that is being driven, piloted by Trinity Anderson, Quentin Moore in the 04, completing row number 3. Then Roberto Crown Jr., Wyatt Walker, that is row number 4. Avery Alfred and Michael DeFeo. That completes your top 10. And then we have Michael Davis and also Mercedes Davis. Obviously, the 3 out of the 4 Davis Racing family cars are in the field. And we have both Michael and Mercedes here in row number 6. Russell Blaisville Moscow, that is row number 7. Then it's Bruno Diacomo, Tanner Parton in row number 8. Zachary Taylor, Haley Curris, that is row 9. Sam Adoskin, Ryan Little, that is your top 20. And then the drivers that got in through the LCQs, that being Jerry Rose, Jordan Sumner, Emily Anderson, Ryan Gondello, Alex Bonsignor, and Sebastian Vaughn. That is your 26 car roster here for our 2026 Bash at the Zoo here at the Kalamazoo Speedway. Of course, there's really not much else for me to say other than there is a little bit of lack thereof with the updated graphics. And of course, we're going to get those out for you guys. But hopefully by the time that we get to Daytona, I can't make any promises on that. But we're going to do the absolute best that we possibly can here as the year goes on, and, to update the graphics, update, packages, whatever we can here for the 2026 season. And nonetheless, it should be a very, very fun one here. 200 laps of action from here at the Kalamazoo Speedway. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're so glad that you could be here with us on this beautiful Saturday night just to close out January and head on into the home stretch of February. It's going to be fun. The drivers are strapped into their cars. Pre-race ceremonies are just now starting to wrap up. But in order to get these 26 behemoths rolling on the track, we got to get the command to fire the engines. So let's go trackside and get just that.
Drivers, start your engines!
And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Engines are fired, pace cars rolling off, and so are these 26 drivers. We're wasting no time at all here at the Kalamazoo Speedway. Pace car is off. Rogel Dorn and Claire Phillips are going to lead the field of the green flag to kick off our 2026 season. There's the green flag right here, and we're racing in Kalamazoo. Dorn with a great run coming off of turn number 4. He's going to lead the first lap of action here at the Bash at the Kalamazoo Speedway. Fight for second is on. Ryan Davis down there on the inside. Roberto Crown Jr. forcing his way underneath the Trinity Anderson in the 4. And they got Avery Alford in the 23 now starting to move his way up through the field in those gear wrench colors. Now making her way down, down to the inside of the number 4 of Trinity Anderson. Michael Davis in the 30, not too far behind. And then you have Russell Blaze in the number 29 in those Dead by Daylight colors. Now for his own team of Death Rider Racing. Managed to get his way into the main event, and now he's knocking on the door of hopefully 7th if he's able to hold on to the bottom. That is not going to be the case whatsoever. Down to the inside goes the 90 of Bruno Diacomo, our Watkins Glen winner from last year. Actually, ironically enough, managed to beat Russell Blaze himself to do it. But Diacomo now starting to move his way up through the field. He will be full-time in the Menards Truck Series, as will this driver, that being the 71 of Samet Oskin. Now Oskin now starting to move his way up inside of the top 10 in the number 71. And already we're starting to see some drivers sort of risk it for the biscuit, if you will. There's Jordan Sumner in the 20. Making her way down to the inside of Wyatt Walker. There's Ryan Gondillo in the 51. And then almost, a little bit of contact there with the outside wall. That being Quentin Moore in the 04. Scraping that wall just a little bit, but keeps it straight and keeps it going. We're still clean and green nonetheless here at the Kalamazoo Speedway. 10 laps into this one, Rogel Dorn has led just about every single lap since the start of the race. Searching our way back here through the field, there's the Monster Energy Machines, that being Mercedes Davis in the 13 and Sebastian Vaughn in the 54 in his sophomore season. Getting down to the inside of one of the other drivers that managed to make his way into the LCQ, actually won his LCQ to get in, that being Jerry Rose in the 00. And there's Curris in the 9. She will be running full-time in the Xfinity Series here all throughout 2026. We'll also be making some sporadic starts here and there in the Cup Series whenever she does make a NOS Energy Cup Series event throughout 2026. Rogel Dorn starting to check out just a little bit over Ryan Davis here in the 77. Davis will be making some limited appearances in the Xfinity Series, but in the meantime, he'll be full-time up here in the NOS Energy Cup Series in the Big Red Machine. Roberto Crown Jr. right there in that second spot, or the third position, rather. He won in Michigan, just by basically beating Jerry Rose to the start-finish line to take the caution flag. That ultimately ended the race at Michigan International Speedway, and managed to just barely hold up on fuel, and that's what enabled Roberto Crown Jr. to secure the victory at Michigan. And now here he is in his sophomore season for his own team, Powerhouse Crown Racing, sitting in the 3rd spot early in the going here at the fastest 3/8 of a mile track in the world. But right now, 1 1/3 second back from race leader Rogel Dorn. And then there's Avery Alford sitting in the 4th position, making his NOS Energy Cup Series debut in the gear wrench colors for Trinity River Racing. And then also the 30 of Michael Davis completing your top 5. Another driver that would be running full-time in the Menards Truck Series. Then Bruno Diacomo sits in 6th, outside pole sitter Claire Phillips. She has fallen back over into the 7th position. And then there's Val Moscow, rocking a new paint job, if you will, for the nationwide colors here in the 2026 season. He's running in 8th. The new Beacon Academy racing car, that being Sam Oskin, is running in 9th. And then Trinity Anderson rounds out your top 10. Feeling a little bit of pressure here from Michael DeFeo in the 60. And then we have a little bit of a fiasco going on over here between Sumner and Gondillo. Russell Blaze not too far back, but now getting a little bit of pressure from Zachary Taylor in this 85 as he works his way down to the inside of the Dead by Daylight machine. He's going to take over what looks to be the 14th position from Russell Blaze. Blaze getting a little bit tight there on corner exit, is not able to hold on to the bottom there, and that's going to allow Alex Bonsieur to capitalize on the troubles that Blaze is currently experiencing here in the early stages of the bash at the zoo. There's Curris making her way to the inside of Ryan Little in the new DHL colors. Vision Motorsports in their sophomore season. This is another team that got a full, complete makeover. Of course, switching from Chevrolets to Fords and sponsorship changes. Little will still be running the Xfinity colors in some races, but the primary sponsor, of course, will be DHL on this number 27. And then we have Tanner Parton, who's in this race. As you see, Curris getting around the 29 of Blaze. Blaze starting to fall back like a rock as now he slips into the 17th position. And now there's also the 07 of Tanner Parton, who we were just talking about not too long ago, or at least we just brought up. But this is another driver who's staying around for Vision Motorsports, or sticking around Vision Motorsports. But with new colors, of course, the Mobile 1 Ford Mustang for Tanner Parton. And then there's Jerry Rose under attack from Wyatt Walker in the 19 machine. Now Walker trying to knock on the door of the 13 of Mercedes Davis. Of course, both together in real life. But here on the racetrack, it's a little bit of a different story. Walker sort of just slipped up the corner there through turns, I believe through turns 3 and 4. He held the bottom there for a split second. I believe he must have gotten a little bit loose and lost a little bit of ground here on the number 13. But still, nonetheless, Wyatt trying to do everything that he can to at least crack the top 20. He's just 2 spots away from just that. He's got to pass Mercedes Davis and also the 6 of Emily Anderson. Anderson now rocking the 6 after running the 4 for last season. Wound up getting 2 wins last year. Wanted, if I can talk, won at North Wilkesboro and then went on to win at Indianapolis in pretty dominating fashion over Val Moscow. But now rocking the 6 for this year, and right now not faring too well here in the bash at the zoo. Almost 1/4 of the way through this event, and she's already trying to go to work on this number 54 of Sebastian Vaughn. Meanwhile, up towards the front of the field, We are now starting to approach that lap traffic, or at least the tail end of the field, and that has enabled the 77 of Ryan Davis to close up onto the back bumper of Rogel Dorn. Meanwhile, a little bit further back, Avery Alford trying to put some pressure on Roberto Crown Jr. But Alford sort of running up the racetrack just a little bit, and he's going to wind up losing a little bit of ground here. That might open up the door for Michael Davis to make something happen. But meanwhile, here goes Rogel Dorn underneath of Jerry Rose to try to put him one lap down. He's going to clip the apron just a little bit through turns 1 and 2, but going through 3 and 4, he's going to do something similar. But Ryan Davis now starting to wash up the racetrack through turns 3 and 4. And it looks like, I think this is also going to be a little bit of an Achilles heel here, especially if you are second place Ryan Davis, because you can see the race leader, that being Rogel Dorn, sort of pulling away from the 77 of Davis. And not only that, putting some lap traffic between him and the 77, or at least Dorn, obviously inflicting and instigating the passing the other cars and putting them in between himself and also Davis. So if you are the 77 of Ryan Davis, that has to be the most frustrating thing, because now you're having to deal with lap traffic that is being a little bit difficult to navigate your way around. So as for the 86 of Rogel Dorn, this could be pretty good news for him if he's looking to try to start off his 2026 with a bang and try to win the bash here at Kalamazoo Speedway. About 1/4 of the way through this event, he has led every single lap thus far. And now we see the 41 of Skylar Taylor making their way to the inside of Quentin Moore. And you can't really blame him on this juncture here, because Skylar Taylor's trying to do everything that they can to try to stay on the lead lap. And obviously, Quentin Moore's trying to do the exact same thing. He's not going to try to give up that spot from the outside line, but he might have to surrender it here. As meanwhile, Jerry Rose working his way down to the inside of Rogel Dorn. That's actually bad news for somebody like Rogel Dorn, because here comes Ryan Davis, and meanwhile, Avery Alford managed to move up to 3rd. What an amazing performance so far for the youngster here in the NOS Energy Cup Series, making his overall WRLA debut. And here comes Ryan Davis in the 77, making a run down to the inside of Rogel Dorn, heading through turns 3 and 4. He's going to gun for the lead here on lap 56. Or on lap 57, Davis officially takes over the lead, and now is going to clear the 86 of Rogel Dorn. So officially, your new race leader is the 77 of Ryan Davis. Dorn falls back to 2nd. Avery Alford in 3rd. Now he's going to try to go to work on Dorn for the 2nd position. That is, if he's able to do it. Washes up the racetrack through turns 1 and 2 there, and going to lose a little bit of ground. And he's just leaving that door completely wide open for Roberto Crown Jr. to slide down to the inside of the 23 of Alford. This is to try to retake that 3rd position. And he will do just that, heading across the start-finish line to complete 60 laps here at the Kalamazoo Speedway. Davis now starting to wash up the racetrack just a little bit, but is able to gather it back up here through turns 3 and 4. Rogel Dorn goes way wide through turns 3 and 4. Isn't going to run the bottom through 1 and 2. Stays right in the middle of the racetrack, trying to do everything he can to stay within the tire tracks of the 77 of Davis. But so far, it hasn't really paid any sort of dividends, as Ryan Davis now starting to check out from the 86 of Rogel Dorn with 64 laps complete. In no time, we're going to be right around the halfway mark of the bash at the Kalamazoo Speedway. Obviously, we haven't had any sort of yellow flags, which is kind of a surprise here, if I'm being honest, because obviously for a place like Kalamazoo Speedway, with the amount of room that you have on this racetrack and with the way that these drivers have been racing here over the years, you would definitely believe that we could definitely see some cautions here and there, but thankfully, especially, and we've even seen this with the heats and the LCQs, thankfully, all these other all the drivers managed to keep their cars in one piece. In worst case scenario, they've just been hitting the wall in the back straightaway, hitting the backstretch wall. So, in hindsight, it's actually not a bad thing that these drivers have been keeping it clean and green so far, because even if we don't have a caution, we could still see some pretty good action whenever we can find it. But as of right now, everybody's sort of just minding their own P's and Q's. Let's come over here to the battle, but for what looks to be the 15th position, that's Haley Curris in the 9, working her way to the inside of Alex Bonsignor in that 22. Curris making a full return here to the NOS Energy Cup Series on a part-time schedule, of course, for her own team, 420 Blaze It. And right across the stripe, Curris has the position, and now coming through turn 4, she's going to officially get it and clear the basically clear Bonsignor for the spot. Zachary Taylor getting a little racy over here. He's trying to go for the 13th position on Ryan Gundillo. He's going to be able to get the spot here heading through turns 3 and 4. Bonsignor continuing to fall back. Meanwhile, look up here towards the front of the field, or at least further up the field. Phillips working her way to the inside of Bruno Diacomo. Then just up ahead is the fight between Jordan Sumner and Samet Oskin. That would be for the 9th spot. Excuse me. I apologize for that. Phillips is going to get the position here on Diacomo, and Samet Oskin looks like he's going to have to surrender that 9th spot to the 20 of Jordan Sumner. But Oskin now running the middle of the racetrack, just not exactly the exact line that you'd want to be running here at the Kalamazoo Speedway, because obviously at a short track, the bottom is the most preferred way to go. So definitely, obviously not the place that you'd want to be running is the middle of the racetrack. Claire Phillips washing up through turns 3 and 4. And trying to get her car to stick down to the bottom, and so far it really hasn't paid any sort of dividends through 1 and 2. Definitely will here through 3 and 4. Look at how wide Bruno Diacomo just got. That might enable Curris to drive to the inside. She's peeking down low. Gundillo looking to try to do the exact same thing, but unfortunately he's sort of suffering the same consequences that some of these other drivers are. He's washing up the track through 3 and 4. He isn't able to make it stick through turns 1 and 2, and that opens up the door for the 27 Ryan Little to pounce. Meanwhile, just up ahead, Curris is going to get the position on the 90 of Bruno Diacomo, so move the Domino's machine up into the 13th position. Move Little up to 15th. There's Russell Blaze in the 29. Blaze now trying to get to the inside of the 51 of Gundillo. This right here would be for the 17th position, or at least 16th rather. Ryan Little on the move just up ahead. Trying to get the position on the 90 of Bruno Diacomo. You could see him on the left-hand side of your screen. Heading down the front straightaway. Blaze is going to get the spot on Ryan Gundillo. So move him up into 16th and Ryan Little up into the 14th position. And now we're starting to see a little bit of passing here at the Kalamazoo Speedway, but it's only going to be a matter of time And I can't believe I'm actually going to be saying this here on a short track, but we might potentially see some green flag pit stops take place closer towards the end of the event. That's actually kind of shocking for me to say that, but you know, never say never at a place like Kalamazoo Speedway, especially for how long these drivers can go on one set of tires. A set of tires on a short track can last you for a while. Of course, I mean, at other places, it would be a little bit of a different scenario, but here at Kalamazoo Speedway, you can go for a much larger amount of laps, so you can actually you can make the tires last for a lot longer than what you would at, you know, Kansas or Michigan, or even at other road courses like Sonoma Raceway, for instance, or even Watkins Glen. We'll be at Watkins Glen later on in the fall of 2026, but still, nonetheless, tire management, especially at a short track, is absolutely everything. 6 laps away from the halfway mark here at the Kalamazoo Speedway. Ryan Davis managed to take the lead away right around lap 61, and he hasn't really looked back from there. Other than he's been looking ahead at Jerry Rose, trying to figure out what can I do to get around this guy and create some distance between myself and the guy behind me, that being Rogel Dorn. Remember, Dorn started on the pole for this event by winning the first heat last night. And Rogel Dorn just buying his time, trying to make sure that he can conserve his stuff. Jerry Rose now trying to get by this 07 of Tanner Parton. This is to try to put him at the tail end of the lead lap and in danger of going one lap down. There you see it right there. Obviously, that's the gap between first and last right there, is just a 12-second difference. And for a place like Kalamazoo Speedway, that is obviously not a huge gap compared to even places like Daytona and Talladega, where, you know, some of those gaps can grow to about 50 some odd seconds. Halfway home here at the Kalamazoo Speedway, or we're just past that halfway mark here at the Kalamazoo Speedway for the bash at the zoo. Look at this. Roberto Crown Jr. working his way to the inside of Rogel Dorn. That's for the second position. And Crown is going to easily take that spot away. Meanwhile, look further back. There's Michael Davis in the 30, being challenged by Val Mosco here in this 33. Mosco taking a peek to the inside. There he goes. See if he can get bite off the corner. He's going to do it side by side through turns 3 and 4. Mosco edges ahead there, so give that 4th spot over to Val Mosco. So as we're past the halfway mark here at the Kalamazoo Speedway, here is a look at your top 10 so far, with now coming to 107 laps complete here in the bash at the zoo. Ryan Davis leading the way. Roberto Crown Jr. sitting in the 2nd position. Then it's Rogel Dorn in 3rd. Val Mosco sitting in the 4th position. Then in 5th is the 30 of Michael Davis. Then in 6th, that would be the 23 of Avery Alford. Michael Davis in 6th. I think I might have already said 6th twice, but Avery Alford completes the top 5, then Michael Davis in 6th. Trinity Anderson in 7th, then in 8th, as looks like Dorn is starting to fall back here. He's in a little bit of trouble. He falls back to 4th, but Michael DeFeo is in 8th, Jordan Sumner 9th, and Samet Oskin completes your top 10, coming to 111 laps complete here at the bash at the zoo. Well, Davis goes way wide through turns 3 and 4, and that is not something that you'd want to see. Powerhouse Crown Racing cars. It's pretty cool to see them that they're running 1-2 right now on the racetrack. It's a shame that Eric Monaco is not on the racetrack with these guys here in this main event. Unfortunately, failed to make it in through both the heats and the LCQs, so he's watching this race from the sidelines and cheering his teammates on. Val Mosco, though, on the attack here in this number 33. Looks like Crown trying to do everything he can to play defense and try to protect that second position from his own car of Val Mosco. But Mosco looking a little bit impatient here, coming to 84 laps to go, and it's gonna pay the price. It's gonna cause him to pay the price, if you will. I can't even speak, but manages to gather it back up here through turns 3 and 4. And Rogel Dorn overdrives, or at least gets a little bit loose. He washes up the track through turns 3 and 4. That might open up the door for Avery Alford to capitalize. Trinity Anderson getting a little bit of pressure here from the 60 of DeFeo. As now DeFeo works his way down to the inside to try to take the 6th position away from the 4. He's going to do it across the stripe. Now clearing her is a little bit of a different story. Going to do it right here, coming off of turn number 4. It took about a single rotation, if I may say. But still, nonetheless, DeFeo manages to get the job done with 120 laps complete. It is 79 now laps to go with 121 complete. And Davis trying to open up that lead. It's almost a 1-second gap between himself and Roberto Crown Jr. in the 21. It might as well be at this rate because you see the gap between that 77 and the 21. It is a 0.98 second deficit. Look at Avery Alford in the 23. Finally starting to go to work here on the 86 of Rogel Dorn. He's going to get the position at the stripe. So move that 23 up into the 4th position. Now at least 6/8 of the way through this event. I'm trying to make sure I do my math here correctly, and here we go. Pit stops are going to be taking place. This will be pretty interesting because you see both sides of the pit lane, or at least the infield, are lined with pit boxes. Race leader Ryan Davis comes in. Trinity Anderson follows as well. It's going to be a 4-tire change for all these drivers. Zachary Taylor, you see him on the outside, right around where the pace car's at. There's Russell Blaze, also the 51 of Gundillo. He's down and away. Rogel Dorn is in. But these pit stops are going to be relatively interesting because there's always bound to be at least one car that finds its way stuck in the infield, and it takes a while for them to rejoin the field. Gundillo coming back in. Probably has to serve a penalty there in that 51. Yes, a stop and go penalty for Gundillo, but Emily Anderson making a little bit of contact with the Haraz machine. As Gundillo is back down and away. And he has to come back down pit road, and Davis turns the 07 right up into the outside wall, and that's going to bring out a caution. Oh, and Davis gets turned himself by Michael DeFeo. What in the world just happened there? Caution on the Speedway. Davis wound up turning Tanner Parton. He got straightened back out, but it wasn't enough to keep a caution from coming out. And then just as Davis was crossing the start-finish line, he himself got turned around by Michael DeFeo. my, oh my. This is actually very, very interesting. Val Moscow is going to be shown as your race leader in this whole ordeal. I don't even know what to say, but ladies and gentlemen, that was pretty interesting to say the least. But Moscow leading the charge here at the bash at the Kalamazoo Speedway. Let's go back and take a look and see what happened that caused that first caution, or at least let's go back and review it. We saw it live, but it doesn't hurt to go back and review it. And we're going to keep our eyes on the 07 of Ryan Davis, and there's a pretty good reason why we're going to be doing this. Now you see Tanner Parton, he's making his way back out onto the racetrack, and there really is no other way to merge back up. Instead, I mean, obviously there's no merge line, so Parton just comes back up on the racetrack. He holds up the 77, the 4, and the 60. But Davis then mashes the gas, gets into the left rear quarter panel of the 07 of Parton, and turns him down into the inside wall. And thankfully, Davis just banged doors there with Trinity Anderson. That was just enough to straighten out the 07 of Parton, but he did pancake the outside wall. That's what brought out the caution. And then Michael DeFeo does something similar here, but this time he just wounds up finally turning the 77 sideways in front of Claire Phillips and in front of a line of other cars that are trying to get back out onto the racetrack. Phillips, Wyatt Walker, Michael Davis taking evasive action in the 30. But Ryan Davis, though, nonetheless, who had led a very good portion of this event all the way up until pit stops came around, he is basically one of the causes for our first caution of the night here at the Kalamazoo Speedway. And thankfully, this wasn't in front of a huge wad of cars, at least on a restart, because had that been the case, then this would have been a much, much bigger accident that would have involved a lot more cars, of course, but still nonetheless, tough break for Ryan Davis and even Tanner Parton in the 07, who actually was, oh, what in the world? That's Rogel Dorn. Did he just overshoot? Wait a minute, hold on. We got to actually look at this. Did he actually... He must have. He's been stuck here for a while. Oh my goodness. You cannot be serious. Rogel Dorn, as soon as the caution came out, he tries to rejoin the field, but he can't really do much there because he had Jordan Sumner to his outside. And I think Dorn just panicked and then just drove his car into the end of the pit wall and right in front of Bob, our stop-go man here for tonight. And man, this is going to be one pretty hefty hospital bill, though, that's for sure. But tough break for Rogel Dorn, who started on the pole here for this event, as well as even Tanner Parton and Ryan Davis, who also were the causes of the caution. But as for Rogel Dorn, just very, very unfortunate that he managed to find himself in a very, very peculiar spot here at the Kalamazoo Speedway, and that is in the end of the pit wall. So Dorn's still sitting in the pits, and chances are actually he's going to come back out. Well, he's got to wait for the field to pass by before he can get going. And he's going to... Oh my goodness. He drives... Oh my goodness. Rogel Dorn just... He's driving on the bank, on the dirt bank, the grass bank. in the infield, and he is having a tough time, man. I think he's getting reset, and he might be put back into the pits. But there he is. He's just driving through people right now. Thank God this is a video game, because if this were real life, then everybody would be ducking out of the way. Probably laughing at what they're witnessing here at Kalamazoo Speedway. Nonetheless, one lap, and we'll be back to green flag racing here at the Bash at the Zoo, and your top 10 goes as follows. Val Mosco, the leader. Roberto Crown Jr. in second. Phillips in third. Then it's Michael DeFeo in fourth. Trinity Anderson completing the top 5. Then it's Ryan Davis, Samet Oskin, Ryan Little, Alex Bonsignor, and Russell Blaze completing the top 10. Green flag goes back up into the air here at the Kalamazoo Speedway on lap 137. And Roberto Kraut, somebody made the move to pit road, and that's going to sack everybody up. That was Bruno Diacomo that just bonsaied it into the pits, and that's going to cause several cars, and Davis and Diacomo obviously banging doors there, and you have to be a little bit careful here. Davis rejoining the racing surface, so thankfully managed to do it pretty safely. No caution, we stay green. Ryan Davis, after leading a significant portion of this event, now finds himself 17th, 3 or at least 1 lap down. Now he's going to pick up a spot as Mercedes Davis ducks right back down to pit road. Now in Trinity Anderson rejoining the field, making it a little bit tougher here for Roberto Crown Jr. to try to navigate his way around the 6 of Emily Anderson, who just came back out onto the racing surface. And Anderson bouncing off the wall there. I don't even know what's even happening anymore. There's just so much going on here. 3 abreast between Parton, Sumner, and Skylar Taylor. A little bit more happening back over here. Gundillo forcing his way underneath of the 07 of Parton. But you got a lot of other lappers that are definitely in the mix of this one. Russell Blaze, how about this? Moving up into the 4th position. Michael DeFeo in 3rd. Quentin Moore completing the top 5. He's just a little ways back, just behind Zachary Taylor. And the caution is out yet again. Crash in turn 1. And oh boy, what in the world is going on here? Ryan Little getting turned by Avery Alford. And that car is smoking down the backstretch into turn 3. That DHL machine is toast. And Ryan Little will, I believe, be our first. Actually, no, that being Sebastian Vaughn. Vaughn is our first retiree of the race. And Ryan Little is not too far away from joining him. So there goes the of the 27. Actually, wait a minute. They could make something happen. They could very well make something happen, but I wouldn't be too sure of it. But chaos now starting to ensue in the closing stages of the Bash at the Kalamazoo Speedway. It is Val Mosco leading the charge here in the Bash at the Zoo. Let's go back and review what happened that caused our second caution of the day, or of the night, here at the Kalamazoo Speedway. And oh my, this actually was a pretty hefty one, if I may say. So, as the field came off of turn number 4, you're going to see Ryan Little here in this 27. He's all over the back bumper of Trinity Anderson, and is just going to send her down into Michael Davis, clipping him. And then right there is where Sebastian Vaughn gets a vast majority of his damage, and then he goes shooting right back up, and look at this. Oskin getting squeezed up into the outside wall, now on his side, on his lid, and barrel rolls on the banking. At least one time, thankfully just one time. But you might have also seen the 0-0 of Jerry Rose kind of do something similar, but I don't think he wound up doing a barrel roll himself. But there's just a lot happening here at this juncture of the Kalamazoo, of the Bash at the Zoo. Excuse me. Here at the Kalamazoo Speedway. We're going to take a look at this from the Skybox cam. Just several cars piling into that one. Rogel Dorn, who surprisingly is still out on the racetrack after... Oh, boy. That's where Mercedes Davis got additional damage. What in the world was that? Yeah, if I were Mercedes Davis, I would not blame her at all for having some words for Sam and Oskin there, because, I mean, I do understand Oskin was slowing down so that way he can get to the pits, but there's just no reason to hook somebody, to right rear somebody on the back straightaway, especially when a caution has already come out. But tough break for Mercedes Davis nonetheless. That Monster Energy machine, lots of damage, especially to the driver's side door of her race machine, and she's still going to be running out on the racetrack nonetheless. Obviously that damage, well, not really that damage, sort of is repaired, but nonetheless, she's still going to be running on track here at the Bash at the Kalamazoo Speedway. We're getting ready to go back to live action from here at the Bash at the Zoo. Just past the halfway mark. Let me go ahead and get things going here. Back to live action from here at the Kalamazoo Speedway, and so far our only retiree of the race, that is Sebastian Vaughn in the 54. His car has seen better days, and he's the first, unfortunately, the first retiree of the 2026 season. So your top 10 as we get ready to go back under the green flag. It is the 33 of Val Mosco leading the charge. Then in second is Roberto Crown Jr. Michael DeFeo sitting in the third position. Then in fourth is Russell Blaze. Completing the top five, that is Quentin Moore. Then in sixth, as we're getting ready to go back under the green flag, we're going to turn him up, turn him loose this time by. Bonsignor is in sixth. Then in seventh is Claire Phillips. Michael Davis is in eighth. Jerry Rose ninth. And Trinity Anderson completes your top 10. Closing in on 50 laps to go in the Bash at the Kalamazoo Speedway. Double file as the field comes off of turn number 4. Green flag goes back in the air. And Kerr is on the offense, trying to get her lap back. She is the first car one lap down. There are 10 cars left on the lead lap, and Curris trying to do everything she can to make that bottom line work, and everybody trying to make some bonsai moves to make something happen. DeFeo trying to get up into the second position. And so far, and already going to succeed in that little battle right there. Crown, obviously sort of just giving it up here, because there's obviously, you can kind of see what's happening here. There's a lot of cars that are already wadded up on top of one another. So it's it's go time here, especially for drivers that are already a lap down. They're trying to do everything they can to get back on the lead lap. If you are Haley Curris, you're in a perfect position to do so. Not only did she just crack the top 10, but she's back on the lead lap. And already trying to pull away from Val Mosco who's now going to have himself a good mirror full of Skylar Taylor, who's also trying to get their lap back, or at least one of them actually. They're the first car that is 2 laps down in this number 41. Avery Alford and Ryan Gundillo going at it. This is to be the first car 1 lap down. So that way, even if you don't catch the 33 of Moscow, you can still have a chance to be on the front row to get back onto the lead lap. And so far, Gundillo has that spot. Avery Alford sitting in the 12th position. Then there's Tanner Parton. A little bit of fighting going on over here as Wyatt Walker now finds himself in the 14th position. Wyatt's been pretty quiet all night long. He's kind of been sticking towards the back end of the field, but he is starting to slowly move his way up. But unfortunately, he is amongst the drivers that are a lap down. So Wyatt trying to do everything that he can to be the first car 1 lap down, or if possible, try to pass the 33 of Val Moscow to get back on the lead lap. But obviously, you can definitely tell what's going to be a little bit more realistic, so to say. Moscow now starting to put a little bit of distance between himself and his boss of Roberto Crown Jr., all thanks to this lap traffic. It is a 2.6 second gap. That is a 2 1/3 second difference. It seems to be almost half of the racetrack there. But Moscow leading the charge here in the bash at the zoo. Trinity Anderson making her way back out onto the racetrack and right in front of Wyatt Walker. Thankfully, she gets her car back out of the way and brings it back down to pit road to get some more repairs done, or at least do whatever she can. I mean, I'm not sure why she's doing a bunch of stop and goes, but at this rate, I would probably just pull it behind the wall, or at least pull it into the infield and just call it a night. Because look at how many laps down that Trinity Anderson has gone. She has essentially gone 12, now 13 laps down, and she's going to continue to go more laps down if this continues to happen. Alex Bonsignor here in this 22, going to work on Michael DeFeo. This is for the 4th position. Bonsignor is going to easily win that fight, and is now going to try to set his sights on the 30 of Michael Davis. But the problem with that is Davis is a little, just about 2 seconds ahead of the 22. This is just for the 3rd position. But Michael Davis, or this is actually, yeah, this is Michael Davis. Or is this Liam? This is Michael. Okay, so Michael Davis, though, nonetheless, doing a very fantastic job here in this number 30 in his NOS Energy Cup Series debut. Again, this is one of the drivers that will be running full-time in the Menards Truck Series here in February once we do our double header at Daytona between the Menards Truck Series and the Xfinity Series. You're going to see that on the 13th of February. The trucks will be on track at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and the Xfinity Series will be on track at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, both on the 13th of February. 24 laps to go from here at the Kalamazoo Speedway. Moscow catching up to the 9 of Haley Kurz to put her back to being 1 lap down. So now this will dwindle down to 9 cars on the lead lap. And oh boy, close call there between Moscow and the 4 of Anderson. Ooh, but Moscow washes up the track just a little bit. Thankfully, Kurz got out of the gas there, and down the 9 of Haley Kurz now making her way down to the inside to try to make something happen. And And she's going to get her lap back there, at least temporarily. Now going to try to pass the 13 of Mercedes Davis. This is just to try to put some distance between herself and the 33 of Moscow, because if we do get one more caution, obviously she will be towards the tail end of the lead lap, or at least she'll be able to catch up to the tail end of the lead lap. But she'll still be guaranteed a top 10 regardless. And oh boy, here, our race leader, Val Moscow, in the middle of this mess here, with less than 20 laps to go from here at the Kalamazoo Speedway. A second and a half is the difference between the 33 and the 21. There you see Crown and the blue and yellow machine going to work on Wyatt Walker. Still sitting in that 14th position. This is all while Walker's trying to chase down Avery Alford, who's going to work here on the 07 of Tanner Parton, taking it downstairs on the Mobile One machine. 15 laps to go from here and the bash at the zoo. And dare I say, this has been a pretty... And oh man, another crash in turn 3. Mercedes Davis, I believe, had a little bit of an incident there through turn 3. Keeps it straight, and we're still green. But it is a little bit of a dangerous situation, especially for our race leader of Val Moscow, because of obviously everything that's been happening on the racetrack, you know, with the lap traffic getting a little bit aggressive because they know it's time to go. They know it's time to go. They're going to go for all that they can get. But with closing in on 10 laps to go, I would definitely have to believe this is going to be all she wrote, as Val Moscow takes the 10 fingers, 10 laps to go from here, the Kalamazoo Speedway. It's going to be over before we know it. That gap between the 33 and the 21 now starting to grow once again. It was a second and a half, just a handful of laps ago, and the caution is out. The caution is out here at the Kalamazoo Speedway. It flies on lap 192. And Ryan Davis with a significant amount of damage on his big red machine. That car is junk. But surprisingly, he's going to keep it in. At least he's going to do the best that he can to stay in this one, so that way he can make it to the finish. But my, oh my, the plot of this one is just thickened. As the field is going to be bunched up, it will be a single file restart from here at the Kalamazoo Speedway. Val Moscow leads the charge. Let's go ahead and try to find just exactly what happened that caused our third caution of the night here at the Kalamazoo Speedway. And I believe we have just found our culprits. And ladies and gentlemen, it was only a matter of time before we saw this happening. But coming through turn 4, Emily Anderson just minding her own business until she comes up on her younger sister of Trinity Anderson, Emily Anderson, colliding with the 4 of Trinity. That's going to send her around and into the outside wall. And that's going to give the 86 of Rogel Dorn even more damage than what he had sustained in previous incidents. And here's where Ryan Davis, just nowhere to go for the big red machine. He winds up going around in front of Claire Phillips, who sustains a little bit more damage to the hood of her UPS Toyota Camry. I almost keep saying Supra. We might as well just run Supras at this point, but irregardless of that, very tough break here for Ryan Davis in the 77. This night has just gone from good to bad, then to worse, as we're closing down on the end of the bash at the Kalamazoo Speedway. And I believe Ryan Davis might be trying to do everything he can to keep his car in the event, or at least try to keep it in so that way he can finish this race. But the points really don't matter. You see right there, Emily Anderson just getting complete, just really was not expecting Trinity to be there. And we're going to rewind this one more time as you're going to see the hit that Ryan Davis delivers to the rear end of Rogel Dorn's car. And Claire Phillips just nowhere to go in the number 5 machine. So Davis is going to pull this car, or he's already pulled this car into the infield right in front of his pit box, and I believe he might have just been sitting there for a good while, and that indeed is the case for the 23, or the 77 rather, of Ryan Davis. We're now back to live action. And this is going to be pretty interesting to see if we are going to have a green-white checkered restart, or at least a 3-lap dash, a Mario Kart dash to the finish. For those of you who may not be aware, who may not know about a Mario Kart dash, it is a 3-lap dash to the finish. Or just a standard green-white checkered, or a 1-lap shootout. Which that would be over within a heartbeat. But Ryan Davis, Rogel Dorn are out of it. They join Ryan Little and the 54 Sebastian Vaughn in the infield. They're going to be watching the finish of this one from the sidelines. Whether if this finishes under green or under caution. Field cycles their way through turns. Turn 4, this time by. Let's see if we're going to get one to go. And the lights are out on the pace car, so we are getting a Mario Kart dash to the finish to decide the winner of the bash at the zoo. More than likely, it's going to be Val Mosco. He leads the way. Roberto Crown Jr. in second. Michael Davis third. Bonsignor fourth. And Michael DeFeo completing the top 5. Here we go. 3 laps to decide it here in the bash at the zoo. And Mosco mashes the gas, and he's out of here. Salmon Oskin making a bonsai move to try to make it 3 wide underneath of Bonsignor and Davis. And Bonsignor makes the move for third. He's going to easily capture that with 2 to go. And Val Mosco is starting to drive away from his own boss of Roberto Crown Jr. White flag, 1 lap to go from Kalamazoo. Mosco had himself a pretty quiet year last year, but this year he's starting it off with a bang. Checkers are in the wind, and Val Mosco wins the bash at the zoo. How about that? What a race from here at the Kalamazoo Speedway. Val Mosco coming out of the woodworks of that one. He wins the bash at the zoo. Roberto Crown Jr. coming home in the second position. Then in third is Alex Bonsignor. Michael Davis in fourth. Then Michael DeFeo, the Michael and Michael show. They complete your top 5. Then Russell Blaze in 6th. Claire Phillips in 7th. Then Haley Curtis in 8th. Quentin Moore 9th. And Ryan Gundillo rounds out your top 10. 11 cars, of course, finished on the lead lap. 12th on down to 21st. They finished 1 lap down or more. And then our 4 retirees, that being Ryan Davis, Rogel Dorn, Ryan Little, and Sebastian Vaughn. And then you have Trinity Anderson right there in the 24th position, right in the neck of the retirees, as she finishes 26 laps down in this event. But what a night. What a weekend here at the Kalamazoo Speedway. Huge congratulations to Val Mosco on securing the win in the bash at the zoo. And dare I say, the 2026 WRLA season is well underway officially on this night, January 31st of 2026. What a way to close off February, and what a way to open up the doors, or to close out January. I think I said February, but regardless of that. And we're going to open up the doors to February here in just 3 hours time, of course, with Moscow going into February as the winner of the Bash at the Zoo. We want to thank you guys a lot for watching this race. If you're watching this live on Twitch, be sure to hit the follow button so that you don't miss a future stream. But if you're watching this on the WRLA YouTube channel, if you guys like this, be sure to hit that like button and be sure to hit that subscribe button in order to keep up with some fine racing content all throughout the 2026 season. Next time you'll see us, we'll be at the Daytona International Speedway on Wednesday. We're going to be doing some Daytona 500 pole qualifying to not only figure out the front row, but to also figure out who will be starting where in their respective duels and who will be able to not only race their way into the Daytona 500, but who's going to be locked in via their qualifying speeds. That's all going down on the 11th of February at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. One more time, big congratulations to Val Moscow on winning the Bash at the Zoo. And have yourselves a fantastic rest of your night. Have yourself a great rest of your weekend. Stay safe, stay warm, and we'll see you guys at the World Center of Racing at Daytona International Speedway.